morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to day 2 of Ignite. We're excited to have you join us for the Microsoft Cloud Unplugged session with Scott Guthrie. My name is Mary Williamson. I'm the Vice President of Azure Apps and Infrastructure. I spend my days talking to customers and partners, and today I get to talk to Scott. Hi, Scott. Good morning.
Thanks, Mary. I'm excited to be here too, and really looking forward to the conversation.
Today, we're going to focus, Scott, on conversations on Microsoft's cloud, the investments that we're making, the strategy behind our comprehensive platform, and a couple of questions from the audience. We'll also have a lightning round of Q&A at the end, so be prepared. How's that sound, Scott? You ready?
Sounds great. Let's get started.
All right, my first question is around cloud. Given our Ignite attendees yesterday heard Satya talk about the future of computing, we'd love to hear your point of view on Microsoft's cloud approach and the value it brings to our customers.
Yeah, I think we're living in an interesting time right now where, we're all going through a pandemic and all of our businesses are, being stretched in new ways. And, I think every company and every organization is trying to figure out, how do we reinvent ourselves? How do we connect with our customers better? How do we do business differently? And we see cloud as kind of a key ingredient to enable that type of transformation for organizations. And our goal with Microsoft Cloud is how do we help our customers do that as best as we can? And I think one of the things that makes the Microsoft Cloud unique is both the breadth and the depth of what it provides. We have infrastructure and an application platform and a data and AI-rich set of services that anyone can build on with Azure. We've got productivity tools with Microsoft 365 that enable employees to be more successful and collaborate better. We've got business process applications with Dynamics 365 that can reinvent supply chain or sales management or a whole host of additional capabilities that power businesses. And we have our Power Platform, which is our low-code, no-code offering, which allows you to stitch together all of these clouds and build applications without having to write code. And then we have with GitHub and Visual Studio, the world's richest professional developer tools and services that enable any developers to build custom applications across all of this. And that comprehensiveness and is really one of the unique things that makes the Microsoft Cloud. And then the depth of richness in each of those product offerings is incredibly unique. And the ability to use all of that and then protect it all with a common identity management and a common set of security solutions and management capabilities, means ultimately you can be more successful within your organization, and we can help power our customers' businesses forward and adapt for this new changing world.
I think that's a fantastic lead into my next conversation, because you talked about the capabilities, you talked about connecting with customers, and you talked about innovation. And given yesterday's announcement regarding Microsoft Mesh, can you share how mixed reality, that experience, ties into innovation across cloud and edge?
Yeah, I think a lot of the work we're doing with the new Mesh capability, is an example of, I'd say, of some of the richness that you can build on top of, the Microsoft Cloud I just described. And it leverages things like HoloLens 2 and a lot of the work that we've done, which enables customers, for example, to be able to work remotely in a mixed reality based world. We've got customers like Toyota that are using it for enabling engineers in, say, Japan to be able to connect to service teams all over the world and be able to experience that remotely and help them fix and improve things. And that stitches across Azure, it stitches across HoloLens, it uses our Dynamics 365 Remote Assist app, and it's built on top of Teams using Microsoft 365. So that's just one example in, say, the industrial space. And the NHS is another great example in the UK, who's using HoloLens in that same set of solutions to help keep doctors safe as they treat patients with COVID-19. And they're able to use that same solution in a healthcare scenario. And what Mesh is doing, and the new Microsoft Mesh offering that we talked about yesterday, is sort of taking all of that capability to the next level and providing an even richer collaboration platform that's going to integrate as part of the Microsoft Cloud and enable workflows to naturally transition from familiar 2D world to the world of mixed reality and enable even richer communication experiences across the globe and across an even broader variety of scenarios. And that both is available to end users to take advantage of and to organizations, but also has a rich set of developer services so developers can build on it as well. And it's just integrated and part of the overall Microsoft Cloud.
It's so exciting to see these innovations and also putting them in the hands of developers, because we know that that's going to power even more and more of those customer innovations. In thinking about developers, what tools and frameworks are available to help them collaborate in this more remote world that we're living in, this new current reality and environment where many of us are disconnected and working from home, and that's going to be a new normal?
Part of what makes the Microsoft Cloud unique is the richness of the APIs and the services that we provide. And let's just say, starting with Azure, we've got databases as a service, we've got IoT as a service, we have rich AI platform capabilities with Azure machine learning, and so much more in terms of that developers can program against and build solutions on top of. And we've got application hosting environments, whether it's Azure App Service or Azure Kubernetes Service, that you can use in order to run those applications in either an on-demand or a serverless-based way. And that richness, I think, enables so much opportunities for developers to build really transformational things. But I think one of the things that's made us unique as a company, really going back to the founding of the company in 1975, we started as a developer tools company, and our first product was Microsoft Basic. And I think since our very beginning, from the very early days with Bill Gates and Paul Allen, we've recognized that having developer tools and having great developer tools can make developers even more productive and help them achieve success beyond just providing platform APIs. And so in addition to things like Azure and the overall Microsoft Cloud of APIs, we have great tools in GitHub and in Visual Studio that are not just great tools, but they're the #1 and #2 developer tools used in the market, and really enable developers to leverage all these APIs and leverage all these services in an even faster, more repeatable way. And increasingly with things like our built-in support inside Visual Studio for doing collaboration. And then also within GitHub, we now have, for example, our code spaces capability, our GitHub Actions capability for doing CI/CD, and a whole bunch more. We're also kind of looking to work to enable teams of developers to collaborate, often remotely, whether they're working from home or working all over the world, in building those solutions as well. And GitHub and Visual Studio are multi-clouds. You can use them with any cloud, but the depth of the integration that we've done with the Microsoft Cloud, I think it really stands out and enables you to go even further and be even more successful.
I think that ties in really well with the next question, because you talk about developer, you talked about multi-cloud, and kind of paired with that is hybrid. And one question from one of our Ignite attendees, Shahid, asked, what's that future of addressing on-prem, hybrid, and cloud in the Microsoft model?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier about our developer tools with Visual Studio and GitHub, and how we've explicitly taken a multi-cloud hybrid approach, meaning you can build apps anywhere. And that notion of hybrid has been something we've really built into the Microsoft Cloud from the very beginning. And part of that was our heritage, meaning we had a lot of customers that used our products on premises, and that promise that you can both use our capabilities in our cloud, on premises, in other people's clouds even, and stitch that together into a solution or a set of solutions, I think is also one of the things that makes Microsoft unique. I don't think there's any other vendor in the cloud space that has the depth of hybrid and the depth of multi-cloud support that we have. And we're seeing pretty much customers and every customer taking advantage of it in some way, shape, or form. And whether that is around our operating systems, whether that's around our database platforms, whether that's around, as I mentioned, the developer tooling support, or things like our IoT, or even our higher level Azure services, that's one aspect. And with things like Azure Arc, which we'll talk a lot more about also at Ignite, we're enabling people not only to deploy our things in a hybrid multi-cloud way, but also govern and manage them in a hybrid multi-cloud way. And Azure Arc, provides that glue and that management framework, if you will, so that you can manage these services everywhere. And then you can use even things like Azure Sentinel and Azure Policy and our Azure Security Center to also securely manage and monitor these environments. Again, regardless of whether they're running on premises or running in a multi-cloud environment or running, say, on an edge on an IoT device. And you're going to continue to see us drive forward this hybrid multi-cloud approach, and enabling that, is a key design tenet that you're going to continue to see us push hard on in the years ahead.
Yeah, I have a ton of customer conversations around our continued investment in hybrid, a lot of excitement about Arc, and probably another pool of excitement is around data. And one key component of successful collaboration with our customers is really fully embracing and unlocking that data. Can you share your thoughts on the role data plays in digital transformation?
Yeah, I think increasingly, every organization is trying to use data in a deeper way, and not just to kind of record what happened, but really also understand why did it happen, and how can you use the insights of why something happened to kind of predict what will happen in the future, and or change your behavior of how your organization works to better optimize for future outcomes. And a lot of that means you got to be able to store lots of data and break down those different silos of data that you have inside an organization. And things like Azure Synapse is one example, and the rest of our Azure data services as a way to kind of bring together those silos into one common data lake or one common data warehouse view of that is incredibly important. I think you also need to be able to empower people to be able to look at that data, and whether it's business intelligence or business analysts that want to be able to create dashboards and turn them into insights that they can give to people within the organization. And if you look at Power BI, we've now got the leading BI tool in the world, and it's used, by I think something like 98% of the Fortune 500 now. You can use Power BI separately, but it has incredible integration with Azure Synapse. And even at Ignite this week, we'll talk about some of that deeper integration that we've done, so that you can do performance optimizations, or you can do better management of the data in a deeper way. That I think is really, really unique. And then with our Azure Purview service that we just announced a couple months ago, we're now providing data governance so that you can understand the lineage of the data, like where did this particular row come from? Do I have privacy issues? Or if someone is asked to be forgotten, are we correctly following the GDPR requirements or some of the other policy and privacy laws that are enforced? And the nice thing with Azure Purview is it gives you that framework that allows you to kind of manage these increasingly important privacy and data lineage questions. And then with our Azure AI services, you can not only store data and look at it, but you can also train models that you can operationalize either in applications or directly inside Power BI for data insights, so that, again, you can kind of predict what's going to happen in the future based on the data you have, and have it all, again, all be secure, have it all be governed, and have it all be compliant. And I think that ability to kind of work with data in that flexible way that's comprehensive, helps organizations that want to go down that data-driven path, accelerate dramatically towards that goal.
Yeah, I think you touched upon a couple of things that build on each other with data and the Power Platform. And that kind of leads me to the next question, which is, we see this emergence of low code, in that abstraction of insights and actions. Can you talk a little bit about what we see connected to digital transformation and low code capability?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I'd say is, at a high level, in terms of when you think about what we're trying to accomplish at Microsoft, and if you saw in Satya's talk when he talks about our mission statement as a company, it really is to empower every person and every organization in the world to be able to achieve more. And that is the foundation mission statement of our company. And I think one of the things that speaks to is the need to kind of democratize technology. And how do we make everyone that's attending Ignite a hero inside your organizations, because you're able to help your organization transform more. And so the more we can do both in our core platform, but also in the tools that we build to enable that, the more successful you and your organization will be. And I talked earlier about the tools that we're building for professional developers with Visual Studio and with GitHub. Those tools are optimized for developers that are writing procedural code and building custom applications, and there's a lot of need for those. I talked about earlier the work we're doing around data platforms and enabling people to store and process and work with data, whether they're a data engineer or a data scientist. How do we provide the rich tooling there? And then part of what we're trying to do with the Power Platform is this low-code, no-code solution, which enables a whole host of people that aren't professional developers in a lot of cases, or aren't data scientists or data engineers, to build great solutions. And with Power Apps and Power Automate and Power Virtual Agent in particular, we kind of enable a whole host of business units and IT professionals to build applications faster that don't require procedural code, that are more metadata driven, and can really stitch together, all of the Microsoft Cloud, can integrate with things like Teams and collaboration platforms that people are using at home in order to deliver business outcomes faster. And what's nice is that it can work together with pro devs on the back end, or together with data engineers or data scientists in the data environment. So it doesn't replace the need to have those. And it's designed to integrate with the apps and APIs and the data sets that they expose. But it can, I think, dramatically accelerate getting a business value and a business outcome into your employees' hands. And if you look at whether it's T-Mobile or Toyota, the manufacturing, or Telstra, or Sterling Bank, or GSK in the pharma world, those are just some examples of great organizations and great customers that are using these low-code, no-code tools and seeing tremendous success in terms of rapidly deploying solutions into their environment that take a fraction of the time that it maybe would have a couple years ago, when everything had to be built by hand. And I think if you haven't looked at the Power Platform, definitely recommend looking at it, because it can dramatically accelerate pretty much every business's success. And in some cases, the Power Platform is now built in for free into Office 365 and Microsoft 365. And so you can use a bunch of the scenarios at no extra cost inside Teams for a whole host of different scenarios. And so it's definitely something that's, I think, a magic ingredient that if you haven't looked at, I definitely encourage you to spend some time looking at.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Scott. If you haven't spent the time, Ignite's the perfect time to go think about Power Apps and look. And in my experience too, and I've had customer conversations where I've used that too, is that you're a hero. You solve a very real problem really quickly and easily, and then that takes off inside of the company. So I would encourage folks to look at that. Top of mind when we're talking about the entire picture of the cloud is security. So switching gears a little bit on security, what are some of the continued investments Microsoft's making in that space, and what's your point of view on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think security is probably one of the most important topics that we focus on as both a cloud provider and as a company. And so we spend over $1 billion annually at Microsoft just on our security. And we have thousands of cybersecurity experts that are working to both protect our cloud and make sure that, as someone who's providing infrastructure and services, how do we make sure our apps and services are secure, but also building the right tools so that you can very easily secure your estate as well, because security is both something that we need to watch, to work on, but it's also something that as you build apps and deploy things, you also need to make sure that you're looking at your own code and looking at your own way of configuring things as well. And so as part of that, we've built into our cloud products rich security features and management and compliance capabilities. So, for example, with Azure, we have our Azure policy support. And that allows you as an IT professional to set a policy that says, no open ports on the internet, or, you can't add admin roles to this particular application without the right workflow. And things must be encrypted at rest. And so you can set that policy now and do it centrally, and then have every application in the Microsoft Cloud estate honor that policy. As just sort of one example of a feature we've built in that can really help you be more secure in how you use our cloud. And with things like our Azure Security Center, or the equivalent on the Microsoft 365 side, we're also looking to provide the right dashboards and the right tools so that you can know, are you using our cloud in the most secure way? And across the Microsoft Cloud now, for example, we now publish what's called the security score. And so you can look and see what is your security score for your environment on the Microsoft Cloud. And definitely, if you don't know it, you should find out what it is, because it tells you how secure we think you are using our cloud. And it also provides very prescriptive guidance. If your score is low, here's what you should be doing to be more secure in how you use our products and services. And that's built in, again, for free, and definitely encourage everyone to take advantage of. And then you're seeing us also build even higher level capabilities, things like Azure Sentinel, which is our next generation cloud SIEM that you can use to kind of investigate issues, that you can use to monitor your environment in even more advanced ways. And what's nice about those security tools is they work not just on the Microsoft Cloud, but they are also hybrid and multi-cloud as well. And so you can use Sentinel to monitor your on-prem environment as well as, say, your AWS environment if you have one of those. And so we're also really trying to make sure this hybrid multi-cloud approach is something we're thinking about broadly, inclusive of security. And you'll see us continue to invest heavily there in the years ahead.
It's amazing to hear how much robust points of view we can pull together in security because of our catalog and our vast touch points in technology. I have one more question for you before we get to the lightning round, Scott. And that question comes from James, another Ignite attendee, and it's a bit of a crystal ball. So can you share how you see the Microsoft Cloud evolving over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a couple things with cloud in general, the Microsoft Cloud in particular. I do think you're going to see cloud become an ingredient really in everything that happens in the world. I think I don't think there's going to be a physical device in the world that 5 or 10 years down the road will not have an IP address and will not be in some way cloud connected. Whether it's our cars, whether it's our refrigerators, whether it's the thermostats in our buildings or our homes. Increasingly things are going to be connected, and we're going to want, and I think is expect, both as end users but also as businesses, that our systems are able to, because they're connected, are able to integrate together and deliver even more value to us. And so, I think you're going to continue to see this push on enabling richer scenarios. The Microsoft Mesh and the mixed reality capabilities we showed yesterday is just one example in the case of collaboration. You'll see more with IoT. You'll see more when it comes to data. You'll see more when it comes to business process. And I think it's going to be an exciting time for us in the technology space. All of us, all of you attending Ignite, and all of us, working at Microsoft, as we kind of enable that future together. And it's going to be one that's going to, require security. It's going to require great tooling. It's going to require great end-to-end integration. And we're very much excited to go down that journey with you, and very much are committed to, how do we provide you the tools that are going to help you transform your business in the years ahead. And I think it's going to be an exciting ride, hopefully, for all of us.
Thanks, Scott. Really compelling, really exciting, and challenging, which I think we're all bought into to lean into. Okay, now I get to ask you to clear your mind and answer some questions real fast in our lightning round. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay. What new hobbies, if any, have you picked up since COVID or this working from home time period started?
I've gotten into model train layouts. So I read some article in some magazine and thought, well, that sounds fun, and how hard can it be? And it turns out it's hard. But so yeah, I've been building a model train layout.
We're going to have to check out your Insta on that one. Okay. If you could teach one subject in school, what would it be?
History.
Window or aisle seat?
Aisle seat. I'm tall.
Music or podcasts?
Music.
Favorite movie?
Star Wars.
When you have the gift of free and unstructured time, how do you choose to spend it?
I like reading a book on the couch.
Dawn or dusk?
Dusk.
Talking or texting?
Talking.
Sea exploration or space exploration?
Space exploration.
Invisibility or super strength?
Invisibility.
Climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
Neither. I hate heights.
Okay, final question. What is the one thing that makes you happy about the work that you do?
It's fun. It's fun, meeting a customer or partner who's using the technology that I got a chance to build and hearing what they're building with it. And it's always more than I was expecting, and it has more impact, and it, provides meaning to me, and hopefully I'm helping them. And so that's fun.
Fun and meaningful. Thank you, Scott. Scott, thank you for your time today and for your perspective on the Microsoft Cloud strategy. And everyone, thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoy the rest of Ignite.
Thanks, Mary. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And as Mary said, I really hope you enjoy the rest of Ignite, and really looking forward to seeing what you build with all this technology we're talking about this week.